Hello there, I'm Vexen, and today I'll show you a little thing I made. It is not exactly data packs or anything like that, but I feel it's pretty cool. Now, first of all, this creation of mine requires to create mod, and that's basically it. It also is recommended for you to have create mod chunk loading, simply so that, but that's only recommended, it's not required. But create mod is required for this. Um, Now, what is this system? It's a mail system that allows you to mail friends. For this example, I've set up five actually, mail stations. This right here is like the mail room for the people operating the core of the mail system, this is like the heart of the mail system, and you can send them messages. Or these are four example bases of maybe friends across the server, which is why I recommend the chunk loading thing, since you need to chunk load the lines that connect the bases. Now, in order to send something to another person, first you need their stamp. Now, their stamp, it can simply be an item, any old item you want. And all you need to do is set these items, is put them in these filters here. I'll explain how to set the system up later and give you a demo of how to set it up. Now, what you do is you put the item you want to go to. Let's say you want to send a message to a magenta of, like, and send him diamond blocks. Yeah. Here you go, magenta. I'm sending you some diamond blocks. And then I just hit send. And then it goes. Now we just wait out. Now magenta is over here doing their thing. And all of a sudden, ah, here it is. The diamond blocks you were sent, the stamp. Now, the stamp needs to be the first item. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You can mess around all you want over here. But the first item always needs to be the stamp. Otherwise, it's not going to work. If you do not have a stamp, well, it's going to be sent to the operators of the machine instead of anyone. It's not actually going to go into their station, though. Let's say you forget the stamp and you just send a stack of diamonds. Send it off. What's going to happen to it? Number one, that's not supposed to happen. Sorry. There we go. That's fixed. Well, where's it going to end up? It's going to end up where junk mail ends up, as it's called. Mail with no stamps gets sent there. All junk mail ends up in this little thing. Now, what happens if you send out an empty minecart from your station? Well, it gets sent back to you with those little cobblestone systems. So whenever you send it, it gets back to you. And by the way, you got a notification bell here for whenever it comes back, whenever you get a message. Now, what about no? Cool thing about that junk mail holder is that if you go ahead and send multiple bits of junk mail, well, the empty minecart should be coming back to me. It is not. That is a glitch. Seems the system is not perfect, but if you're careful with it, it should work fine. Now let's send a few more bits of junk mail. Now you'll see that all the junk mail piles up in this queue. If you break one, it goes along. think that should be about it. Yep, we're good. Now, you may ask, what happens if this gets full? I have your answer. And yes, the thing gets very loud. So, they simply pile up on the end here. So not a single minecart is lost. Now, we also got this station over here for any extra things that somehow get past all the filters. But I doubt you're ever going to need to use that. This system can have many safety precautions and is highly customizable to your wants and needs. Now, let me show you a few more examples. Let's say I want to send a message to blue. I want to send some diamonds to everybody. I want to send a diamond to white. I want to send a diamond to green. I want to send a diamond to blue. I want to send the diamond to myself, you know, just for fun of it. And I want to send a diamond to orange. Oh no. I sent an empty one? Now we'll come back. We'll look at that. And then I'm just going to send a diamond to redstone, which doesn't exist. No stamp for redstone. Oh god. That is the one issue with the system. I'm afraid it currently cannot handle too many minecarts on the tracks at once. But regardless, it does work. I got magenta's got a diamond. Blue got a diamond. Green got a diamond. You know, orange and white too, you know. Everyone's got a diamond. With the white here, you could have this so that it's a part of your mail building. So you have a building where you put this machine, and you have this for the operators of the machine that repair it and such, so people can send requests, and the guys can send a whole bunch of stamps back, or even books and things if they like, you know. It could be used for delivery, like you send it to a business and they return you with some items. It could be used for shops as well, long distance shops. Of course, this system could theoretically be expanded, like with trains, which is an idea I may futurely look into, but yeah. Now, I'll go into the basic limitations of this. Number one, spamming too many minecarts on a single track will cause issues. So, yeah, there's that. Number two, the core, the mail core, which is what I call this thing, the mail core, will not be able to handle empty minecarts. Empty minecarts will clog the system, which is why I added these prevention mechanisms, which, by the way, are 100% vanilla, which means you can make these in vanilla as well, and they just send the minecart back to where it's coming from if it's empty. That's all they do, because I couldn't fit it in exactly into this design. I'm sure you could if you reworked it, but I already had a working design and then I find out about the issue. It also needs a power source for this single elevator. But that's all. It doesn't even have to be strong or anything, since the system doesn't care what power source it gets. As long as it gets some power, it's going to work. Now, the system actually has a queue system, so multiple minecarts can come in at the same time, and it'll work all the same. So let's just sign this guy over to lime. Let's grab a few more lime here just so we're testing. Let's also send this guy over to lime. This guy over to lime. This guy over to lime. As you can see, they queue up, and they wait for the previous minecart to finish. And then they go in there, they wait for it to get sorted, and then it gets sent. That's how it works. And so, Lime is definitely going to have a lot of mail. Now, another great thing about these mail stations, as they call them, which allow you to view the mail you have, is they work infinitely, meaning they can hold an infinite amount of minecarts in this single slot. It's just whenever you click onto it, it's going to be a random minecart you open. But you can always do that. I tried more complex systems that allowed you to have a more detailed mail queue, but I realized that's mostly useless and not very functional. Now, that's the basics of this system, but I'll show you now the tutorial for how to build your own. Now, I'll be doing this creative mode, but I have 4 schematics here for the mail system. Now, first thing you need to do is find a mail core, which is that big mechanism. Then you place it down somewhere, and then you just build it. Which in this case, it will automatically come with a mail segment attached. Which the mail segment is what you use to expand it and add as many stations. It comes with one pre-built input. Now, whenever you put some of this in, make sure to flick this lever. Otherwise, it's going to not remember the rails are powered. And then you're good. Just make sure to give it a power source right here, and boom. Now all you need to do is connect up some segments. Now for a mail segment, you simply look right there, and then you simply, And there you go. You got a second station you can send to. A second ID. Now if you want to send something, all you have to do is put something in this filter here. And this right here will be the stamp. Now the stamp corresponds to where you wants to go. And you got these filters all over here. If you leave the filter empty, all minecarts will enter it. So if you leave an empty stamp at the end, then all minecarts that don't find another place to go and don't have a stamp will go there. And that's what I use for this system. For this system, I simply leave the filter empty for the last guy, so at this point, they've all checked all their previous locations, and they just get sent into this storage device, so that they can be read later by the operators of the mail room of the building you have this thing in. Now, you can expand this nearly infinitely, though you do have to keep in mind chunk loading. Because minecarts are minecarts after all. Now, if nothing meets any of the filters, the items will just go to the end of this hopper line. What it does, make sure to flick those levers, but what it does is it goes in here, it goes into a queue where, oh, by the way, turn this off when you're ready to use it. It goes into this queue here, and then it waits for the trapdoor to flip, then it falls down into the system. And then the system reads that it fell down and stops and then it flicks this. And it stops any more minecarts from going through. So as you can see here, it does that, and then one goes in, and it gets locked in place. And it waits for it to finish doing its thing. But then it also grabs an item with that hopper underneath that rail there that's a bit hard to see. The item gets sent up here with the air thing, and it gets put through these, and then gets detected by a filter. If the filter gets something, it will tell the minecart, you're good to go. And it gets sorted, and it will choose which direction it goes into by going on this bottom track. So we'll go on this bottom track and go into the correct station, which has its filter met, and pick up the item the system stole from it. For example, if I put in some white wool here, and I set a filter for white wool, you'll see that there's white wool in there. And now the minecart comes, picks it up, and goes. And so it doesn't lose any items. That's the basics of how it works. If you get an empty minecart in there, though, it doesn't pick up any items. And so it doesn't have any item to tell it to go. And that's the reason why it doesn't work with items. With empty minecarts, all you would really need to do is just attach a filter here to the beginning of each of these tracks, and it would fix it, or within the machine. But I forgot to do that when I was building it, and now it's complete. So, regardless, any minecarts that don't meet any of the filters and somehow make it through there will end up here. But that's useless. No minecart's going to end up there most likely, so I don't need to worry about that output. So, long story short, to add a new station, you simply do this and do that. And then all you need to do, make this be the stamp. And the inputs is here. This is actually the input and output track, meaning this leads to the station. And then, ta-da! And be careful with empty minecarts, because it will break the system. And chunk loading. Now, besides that, that's really it for this thing. Besides that, I also made two more schematics. One of a mail station. This is the station people can use to read their mail. So, also, it sometimes breaks if you spawn it in. But that's fine. It wasn't really ever meant to be spawned in like that. It was meant to be built. Also, make sure to add the bell. The bell also sometimes breaks when you spawn it in the wrong orientation than it was built in. But what this does is it takes a minecart. If it's coming in, well, sometimes you may need to get a lever and flick this guy so it always ends up in the right spot. But once you got that going, you should just be able to send a minecart in, and it'll always go there. And for sending minecarts out, you stick it there and activate that. As simple as that, really. Now, if you want to attach the filter to it, which I'll here, you simply do this. Now, this right here is the filter that doesn't send the minecart arts back, but sends them out to another track. I have multiple types of filters for reference. I made two. So all you have to do is attach this like that. Actually, no, wrong orientation. Sorry about this. All you have to do is do that. And ta-da, when the minecart comes through, it's going to be split off if it's this way, if it's empty, and continue going if it's full. Now, I also made a variant of that here. Let me just grab the schematic for it. Empty minecart reverser is the opposite of that. Instead of just splitting it onto a new minecart line for you to make it go anywhere you like perhaps make it so empty minecarts go into the spam instead of returning to the sender. Then you use this. Now make sure this part is going out from the station. Actually, going towards the direction you want it to go. Make sure that's the input, those are the outputs. No, that's the output, those are the inputs. So then I need to rotate you, move you again, move you up some, move you out one, and print. Now for this guy, it also glitches out a little when you place it in. But now, whenever you send in an let me fix this real fast. Whenever you send out an empty minecart, you're just going to do something very different. One sec. If that happens, all you really need to do is just reverse it a second time. Okay, now I send it. Empty minecarts return. Full minecarts do not. That's all that does. Now, you may say, what's the point of a mail system? Well, there's quite a few purposes you could have, especially if you chunk load it. What you could have is have it so people can communicate and send items across huge distances to each other. You could and so that you don't even have to put it on the correct area or train or anything. You just put an item, a stamp, and the minecarts will deliver it to the person. Now, the only wrong thing about this system, and perhaps improvement I need to make at some point, is make it so that it works even if there's multiple minecarts on a single line. And also, if I could make it change it so it's trains instead of minecarts, that would be another interesting idea. But those are much more complicated, though it may not be. I don't know yet. Making a train that automatically goes to a location you set via an item, via a stamp, is... I'm not sure how to do that. I haven't messed too much with trains. But this system is pretty cool, I would say, and it's good to use on small areas. You know, you can effectively connect an infinite number of these things as long as you chunk load it. And be careful about sending too many minecarts along the same track. Because if you got a minecart going and a minecart coming in, then there's going to be issues. What I could do for that is it waits for minecart to return, or like when it sends it, text that or something, but that's difficult. Anyway, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration of a little thing I was making. It took a little bit of time to finish to a point where I'm happy enough to share it, but I like it, you know. It has a lot of potential for a lot of different servers, especially if you can make it work with trains instead of minecarts. Though I'm not sure how you do the reading the mail system, because I do like minecarts quite a lot for the reading the mail system. You know, you look in here, nope, nope, and then you just read all your mail like that. Anyway, that's all for now. This has been Vexen. I will see you later.